If you feel like you're spending far too much of your time on the unpaid admin activities in your business that's taking you away from actually being able to serve more clients and earn more revenue and profit, then it's likely you've got some opportunities to introduce some systems, some automations that can help you put your business on autopilot so you can maximize the time you're spending in it and claim back some of that time for you, for your life, for all the other things that you would like to be doing. So stay tuned. This episode has been created just for you, and it's coming right up. Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and over the last 25 years in marketing and business, I've helped many brands to launch, scale, and grow, with some of them becoming multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm here to inspire you to get out of your own way and create a profitable, fulfilling business while living the lifestyle you really desire, without all the hustle. So I bring you She's the Business podcast, a unique blend of strategies, tactics, mindset, health, and spirituality, literally everything you need to be the successful leader of your dream business. Made by women, for women, this is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration. Today, I've invited Brittany Schroeder, who's a business coach and marketing strategist, onto the podcast to talk to you all about how you can help put your business on autopilot. She helps entrepreneurs automate, build sales funnels, and scale businesses. She's an absolute expert in the systems that you can build into your business to help you create more free time. Brittany worked as a high school senior photographer for over 10 years and then ran a photography magazine right up until 2017, when she decided that she would shift into the world of coaching. She has worked in the nonprofit sector as well for over 15 years and has founded her own nonprofit called the Compassion Club. Brittany has got such a great wealth of experience in different areas that she brings to us today in this episode to share some really simple but so effective strategies for automated systems that really do give you your time back in your business. So without further ado, let me play this interview for you. Hello, I'm here with Brittany Schroeder. Brittany, welcome to She's the Business podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You are most welcome. I'm really keen to chat today about running a business on autopilot, systems, automation, the things that really give us our life back and make business feel so much easier. So great discussion. But before we get into it, can you tell us a bit about your business? Who do you serve? What is it that you do? And how did you get started in this?
Sure. Yeah. I started as a photographer, actually. So I was a photographer for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did high school senior photography. And then I owned a photography magazine.
Okay.
I also have been really involved in nonprofit work for about 15 years. And so I was running a nonprofit and really involved in a bunch of different things. About 6 years ago, we moved to, we were in Texas at the time, and we moved, and I was ready to transition. And at the time I was helping a lot of people with their business, and I thought, this is a good time to transition and help and, do business coaching. And so I do business and marketing, and kind of the what I specialize in is building systems, automations, and building sales funnels that just helping your business run on autopilot and then scale. So a lot of times you can't have, if you don't have a good foundation, it's really hard to scale and grow. And so that's where we start, and then we grow, and then that's that's what I do and how I help people.
Yeah, incredible. I'm curious because I was thinking, a photography business, was this back in the day where it was done mostly offline, or was that a lot of online?
Yeah. It's interesting because it was offline. It was location based, and so I was. I did high school seniors. I was in El Paso, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And, I did have some great systems and business models. And it's interesting because I often say, because I've worked with a lot of creatives, And usually creatives kind of struggle with business, but for me, it was the opposite. I was really, the business part came really naturally to me, and I had to work a little bit more on the creative part.
Yeah,
So,
right.
I built a six-figure business in photography, and, I wasn't working very much, but I just built a really strong brand and had just a great business model and,
Yeah.
had a lot of success with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I was thinking it's one of those types of businesses that could be so easy to get caught up being busy in the actual creative side of
Yeah.
it. And if you don't have the systems and processes to bring in the clients, in the leads and have that
Yeah.
flow happening, it could be something that feels like it's more of an uphill battle than not. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's.
Well, and I think too, like looking back at like my
Mhm.
journey of, photography, as a photographer, I wanted to learn from amazing photographers. And so
Mm.
I was going to their workshops and listening to them speak, but behind closed doors, they were creating beautiful stuff, but their businesses were not running very well. And so, it was interesting when I pivoted and into business and marketing and I started learning from people outside of that industry, how
Mm.
little the industry like really taught about the business portion of it. So,
Mm.
it's just something you don't know that you don't know, but some of it came a lot really naturally to me, and that's why I had success. But most people, when starting a business, they really don't know how to set up a business and the foundational pieces that are so important.
Yeah, it's so easy to get distracted by everything that you kind of see in the
Yeah.
in the 3D. Like, oh, you see what people are doing, but there's so much that's actually behind the scenes that causes it to either be successful or not. That
Yeah.
is what you don't see. And like you say,
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know. But
Oh, for sure.
it's great to bring that in. I'm curious about your not for profit because what is the not for profit in, and how does that fit into you, Brittany, and your sort of reason for being and what you do in business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've always been involved in nonprofits and I've worked in a bunch of nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of always like dabbled in like I love to serve, and that just is something that I've made like a priority in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, I dabbled in a bunch, probably the most like made the biggest impact on me was I was working with a nonprofit called Haitian Roots, and we were educating kids in Haiti, and we were starting schools in Haiti. And it's interesting because it was my camera that took me there because somebody had reached out and said, "Hey, come and photograph this." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they started photographing the kids to help them get sponsors. So that was kind of my like I had volunteered with nonprofits, but that was like my first, I was on the board of directors and I was like in there learning about nonprofits. And then in 2017, my son passed away. My
Wow.
14, almost 15-year-old son passed away. And I started a nonprofit called the Compassion Club. And so we put these clubs into schools all over, mostly all over the US. And that has, it was healing and, and we raise money and nonprofit we do a few things, but since 2017, we've given about $75,000 in scholarships since 2017 through the nonprofit, and we have clubs throughout the US. So that's kind of like my nonprofit.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow. That's amazing.
yeah,
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 I was just so curious. I'm like, I need to know more about this and how it fits in,
yeah,
and like, what an
yeah,
incredible thing to do. That's
yeah.
amazing. What is it? What are the scholarships for? Like, how do you support the
So, well,
kids?
so we do the clubs. We have a curriculum and we put these clubs in schools, and it's
Mhm.
really teaching like the values like service and kindness and charity and forgiveness. And then there's like activities that go with it. And
Mhm.
so we sell the curriculum, and then we do my son was a wrestler, so we do a big memorial wrestling tournament for him and raise money. And then we let teachers and coaches nominate kids who have overcome adversity and have good character and they rise above and show kindness and just good character. And that's who we give the scholarships to. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
been really rewarding.
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible. I'm in awe of you. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
So, yeah, let's like switch topics now and jump into systems, automation. What do you think if you see a business like these ones that you were talking about, the photographers, and they've got this great sort of these amazing skills, but then behind the scenes, their business is a real mess. What are the first things that you're looking at in terms of, right, we need to help you get more efficient, be running more effectively, more profitable? Where do you focus first? Because it could just feel like it's a huge mountain to climb with so many different areas that you could apply that.
Oh, yeah. There's so many moving parts in running a business. But, well, the first thing that I really focus on, because I often say there's two reasons that small businesses fail. Either the first one is either they don't grow, or they don't grow fast enough, or they grow too fast and they lose the integrity of their business. And, and so one of the very first automations or funnels, I guess, too, that we set up is the post-purchase funnel. So that is, you interact with a client and, and they want to work with you. You send them one email, and it can be, like, here's the welcome packet or whatever it may be. Then they click on a button and everything's automated besides sending that first email. And then an invoice is sent, then they pay. And then that triggers a series of automations where you're onboarding them, because, a lot of times it's how we make people feel. That's part of the client experience. Do you feel seen and heard? And so then, we send them emails, and a lot of times the email can be like, here's an intake form. It depends on what it is. Like if we go with the photographer, it's educating them on what to wear, what kind of location, how to prepare, all of those different things. If it's a business coach that I'm doing now, the first thing I send is, hey, here's an intake form. I want to know your goals and your priorities. Like, give me your goals, give me your priorities, give me your information. And then, that triggers another email that says, this is how the process works. This is how you get a hold of me. These are my hours. And, I might also say, hey, here's access to some resources that you have to work with me. So it's really just that like onboarding and offboarding where its communication is key. And so those are things that we spend too much time doing. And one of my favorite things that I often say is minutes add up to hours. So, if you're thinking, I'm fine. I don't need to do this in my business. But it's those minutes that add up to hours. You can send, I'm just sending this quick email. It only takes me a minute. Well, that adds up over a year. How much time have you wasted sending these emails? A, B, sometimes life happens and things fall in the cracks. But if you have these automations set up, your business works for you when you can't or when you're not. And so it's really important to have really good systems where you're communicating and people know what's going on. They're more likely to refer you. They're more likely to come back to you and, work with you again when it is a good experience. So that's one of the first automations that I like to set up. The other one is chasing money down. You can send a link to somebody to pay, maybe they're doing a payment plan or something. And, you send them a link and then you have to send the link again in a month. Well, what if they don't pay, and you've spent all this time working with them, and then they're not paying. So kind of a rule of thumb I have is like, I do not do anything until I receive payment. And that's really what triggers my automations. I see too many times businesses like doing a call and saying, okay, you can pay me after. And it's awkward. It's awkward to say, you owe me money. You still owe me money. Hey, you still owe me money. You know what I mean? And so that's another like automation is, like billing and invoicing. Those are things that they suck our energy, and sometimes they can suck our mental energy too. If we're like, so those are some of the automations I set up right away for sure.
Yeah, I so agree. I think, when I was starting this business, I was like, I do not want to ever be chasing finances. And, it's such a drain on your time, your energy, and it's not fun, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
like definitely for me, I did not want to be doing that. And so, I so agree with like, set it up so that it's a process that's already automated. And, for me, I was like, well, it's upfront payment. Like that's just how it happens. And so nothing happens. Like they sign up, they actually have to pay in order to sign up. There is no signing up without paying. And for me, that's just reduced or removed so much time because you don't have to be, chasing or following up on anything. It literally is all automated, and that is the only option. So I agree. I think there's so much wasted time in business doing that. And 100%. Love it. Love the onboarding automations. I think we all have welcome processes, and I just often see so much opportunity to improve even the sale, right? Because how often is someone asking for so many things before somebody's actually signed up that they might just lose the
Yeah.
will to live? That's what I say.
Yeah.
It's like they're losing the will to
Yeah.
live. They're not going to sign up because they're jumping through so many hoops before they even get to that point, and then they've got distracted. It's like, do you really need all that information first? Or how about
Yeah,
you just
for
like
sure.
look at the process to get it the right way around? I'm
Yeah.
curious about, the offboarding, because I think that that's an area that a lot of people do neglect more, because, it's all like focus on bringing on the client, getting them set up.
Yeah.
But I think the offboarding would be one where I'd say more people probably don't have an offboarding process.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about your offboarding, how you would approach that? What sort of things are the top tips to
Yeah.
include?
Yeah. I think, a few things is, you're missing an upsell. You're missing an opportunity to sell. And if you have a product suite or you're selling one product, is there an opportunity to sell another one as you're offboarding them?
Mm.
So for example, I'll give you a couple with my businesses. I do one-on-one coaching. It's high price, high ticket, high touch. People aren't going to, be investing that much all the time. So as I'm offboarding, I'm like, hey, I'll ask them if they want to sign up for another 3-month package, or I'll say, hey, here's the other option. I have a business membership. It's $50 a month.
Yeah.
You can come in and there's, twice a month I get in there. I can answer your questions. I can give you feedback. You have a ton of resources, and I can offboard that way. So you're missing out on money. With photography, the offboarding can be, I did high school seniors, and in the high school seniors, like that's a one and done because they are a senior. It's not a family where you're getting return business. But one of my upsells that I would do is like, hey, I know your child's going away to college. This is a great time to get some family pictures. And even though like I didn't specialize in family pictures, I could still do them. And, it was kind of like an upsell. Or I can say, hey, you can order graduation announcements. There's a bunch of different things where you think about, is there an opportunity to upsell them?
Yeah.
That's one thing. The other thing is showing gratitude, just that, hey, I've loved working with you, appreciation. Again, I don't think there's too much of that. And then another one is asking for a testimonial or like a Google review, and that helps your business. It helps your SEO. And so those are things that we don't think about testimonials until we need them,
Yeah.
right? So it's one of those things where if we automate it and it's in a workflow, it's done for you. You don't have to, you're not chasing those things down.
Yeah, yeah. And it becomes so much easier. And what a great, it's all about the experience, like you said before.
Yeah.
Even when someone is finishing with you, like, let's actually turn that into a really great experience, so that they are still feeling like they are seen, they're appreciated, even if they choose not to do either of your options. They're still going to be on your list, probably. They're still going to be connected to you. So, having them feel like, this has been great, and then they know that there might be a time in the future where they're going to step forward and work with you again. You're making that possible by having a really great offboarding process. Where everything's
for
in
sure.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. So those are the things that you're like, okay, here's some simple things to make a good experience and reduce your time in the business. What other things do you think are no-brainers to put on autopilot as opposed to having more of a manual process?
Yeah. Well, I think, there's different things like, like podcasting or, things where what are the things that we're doing in our business over and over and over again? And can we automate them? I have a really good system with my podcasting where all I do is send them a link. It triggers an email that says that, hey, this is how you prepare, blah, blah, blah. Fill out this intake form so I can get your bio, your headshot, and then they get another email reminder. Hey, if you haven't filled that out yet, do that. If not, like, that's okay. And here's how to prepare for the podcast, and then it sends the reminder. So I think having, I use a scheduling app, I use Acuity, and it's got some great email, like you can build your own template. So it's different for each appointment. And so I have different emails that go out with different kinds of appointments that I do. And you can even schedule like a follow-up. So I can say, hey, if it's a coaching session, I can have an automated follow-up that says, don't forget to schedule your next call. So there's different things that you can do there. The reminders, I think that's like super helpful. I have an automation set up. I use Airtable as like my database that I use. And I put, and it's kind of like, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like kind of like Excel sheets kind of, but I will go in there and I will record my podcast. I put the link in there. I go in and I change the status on that. And I've set up an automation where it sends an email automation to my assistant that says, hey, this podcast is ready. Podcast, whatever number, it, fills in the blanks, is ready for you to schedule. And I do that with my blogs. I do it with my podcast. So we have these automations that are set up so that, it's like a communication thing. So I'm not spending time sending an email. It just automatically, it's just like one click and it sends it to them. So there's so many automations. People just don't know what is available. Yeah. And so having some of those automations just free up so much of your time so you can you're not burnt out. And so that you can focus on the things that you are good at. And that's usually, if it's a service or a product, it's either creating or, doing a service for somebody. So those are just some of there are so many that you can do, so many little automations that people just don't realize are available.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are a few more.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's, obviously having a podcast myself, I think one of the things that's made it so easy is actually having it systemized. So, yeah. Yes, I have a podcast manager who does editing, and there is an amount of things that you actually have to do as a human. Like you've got to turn up and you've got to record and, and they do the edit and things like that. But it's like, when you look at the whole process, there's many places where you can put an automation in place, but it's almost like it's fitting into a whole system where for us, the thing that takes a lot of time away is I don't need to brief him on, okay, there's an episode and now go and do this. It's because every week it's the same thing. Like there's a deadline. This has to be done by this date, and everyone knows where everything is. I've recorded it. He'll go into the system and download it and do his part. And it's like, because we've mapped it out as these are the assets that need to be created each week, where they live. And then, if there's a guest, he'll send out the email with the guest things on, but it's the same. And so that means that, thank goodness I don't have to micromanage, which would absolutely just kill me. I'm not that person. I'm not a micromanager. I just want to say, this is your responsibility. You do it. And, I'll do my bit. You do your bit. And that really works. And it's like, thinking about that, well, where else could you do it in your business as well? Like what other things could you turn into a system so that you're not sort of like, oh, some weeks, you're doing that and then you've got really busy with work or personal life takes over and then everything kind of falls to the wayside because you're kind of more doing it on when you want to or when you feel, what's the word, called to, your social media content. You might have days where you're like, yeah, I've got all these things I want to say, and then other days where you don't. But, do you help your clients put in place any sort of systems or processes around that so that they aren't reliant on just themselves to be in the mood or in the flow?
Yeah. Well, we create, another thing that I do is, this is less of an automation, but more of a system, is standard operating procedures, SOPs, where they know every day the tasks that they need to be doing every day. And I think that just helps with we get overwhelmed with all these things we need to do. But when we have a plan and it's like, okay, this is what I do Monday, this is what I do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then it really helps. A lot of people get overwhelmed in their business and they think, I need to hire somebody. I need to hire an assistant. Then they hire an assistant, but they're spending all their time managing their assistant. And so, but when we have really good systems and SOPs, then it really is, I communicate very little with my assistant because I have these standard operating procedures. I have to go in and tweak them every once in a while, but we have such good systems that she knows what she needs to do. And it's, I don't have to manage her. So
yeah. Yes, I think there's so much in that, like the amount of time people spend in their business that's unpaid, unpaid admin. the more you can reduce that, the more profitable, more freedom you're going to feel, the easier that is going to be to run a business. Because, like you said at the beginning, either businesses fail to grow or they grow too quickly. And I think that the one where, and both of them kind of come down to, sometimes they fail to grow because they're so busy doing all of this stuff that is slowing them down and preventing them from actually doing the stuff that makes money. And then the ones that grow too quickly, it can all just sort of fall apart at the seams because they're like, you don't have the support in place already.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's why it's like, some of these things might not sound super fun, but the thing is that the amount of time that you put in to create it in the first place, once that system's in place, then you're gaining back all that time. So it's like a little bit of upfront investment goes a long way.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Adds up for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. What would be your, if you could go back in time and give your past self some advice in this way, like, here's something that you definitely need to put on autopilot, or here's a system that is going to change your world, what would that be?
I mean, I would say for sure that onboarding and offboarding. I think that is just, the backbone of your business is that client experience. So for sure that would be, and that's the number one thing I do when I start working with clients is, hey, let's get this figured out right here. This is the first thing we're going to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Brilliant. Love it. So tell us a little bit about your membership. You mentioned to us before that you often offer that to clients after they finish working with you. And I know that we chatted briefly before we started recording. You called it the meeting place. And I'm kind of curious, what is that about? How does it work? Can you share a bit about it?
Yeah. So it's just my top to bottom business membership where I go through all these systems in your business, building different systems. And I think technology is really overwhelming for people. And so I break things down in little bite-sized pieces and I help set up systems. And within that membership, we talk about how to blog, how to find keywords, how to do SEO, how to, build your social media, setting up really good systems and building a strategy. There's different things in there, like how to host a retreat, how to host an online summit, just here's the step-by-step. Here's all the tools I've used. Here's my templates. Here's my, my swipe files. Here's all the things from A to Z on how to do these things. Because I think a lot of times, people are like, build you need to have a lead magnet or you need to build a funnel, but it's like, okay. But then people are like, okay, how do I do that?
How do I do that?
Yeah. And I break it down step by step. This is how you do it. This is how you build it. This is step 1. This is step 2. And so in that membership, that is what we do. And we have a great community where we support each other. We try to promote one another and build, a great community where we are really supportive and empowering each other. So that's my membership. So you can find it on my website, BrittanySchroeder.com. or BrittanySchroeder.com/membership. And you can find out more about my membership. So yeah,
awesome.
It's my membership.
Well, I'll make sure that that's in the show notes so you can check it out. It does sound, it takes time, I think, to put together the step-by-step process for all of these things and also to have done them. I'm like, when you look back and you think, I figured all that out myself and it took so much time. But having that in the process where you can go, right, here's what you do first, here are all the assets that you need, because there's often things that you discover when you do it that would not have been obvious or you probably wouldn't have found on the YouTube how-tos, because they're like, well, we can't put 30 different steps in the YouTube. So they will have told you stuff, but they won't have put everything in there. And that's the kind of thing that, like you said before, I'm always like, in my, I use Asana, but when I do a project like that, I'll be adding in the tasks and then this becomes like the template. So next time we do the event, it's like, here's all the tasks that we did and they're all in order and it all, how you do it, it's all in there. And so that becomes a really great resource. Like you said, your VA learns it, they know what to do. But then to be able to provide that to other people, I think that just takes so much guesswork out. And there's so much information out there on the internet at the moment. Like you might go, well, how do I do this? And you'll get 10 different answers and all these different recommendations of platforms. And I think sometimes you just need someone to say, hey, here's why this one is good or here's why this one works. And then you can just go forward with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks, Brittany. If anyone wants to connect with you on your socials, where do you hang out? What's your main platform that you tend to
So
be on?
yeah, I'm on Instagram
Hmm.
at Brittany.Schroeder.
Hmm.
And I have a podcast called Redefine Your Business. And then you can find me on my website, BrittanySchroeder.com. I'm pretty much on every platform at Brittany Schroeder, but I mainly hang out on Instagram. So
Yeah, that's the place to connect with you and
yeah,
and hang out.
yeah,
Great. I love
yeah.
this idea of your podcast as well. I think we'll make sure we put that in the show notes too, so you can go and check out Brittany's podcast and hear more from
Great,
her.
thanks.
So that's awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for joining today. And this has been a really great chat. Such an
yeah,
important one. And I think it's like, although it doesn't sound fun, your business becomes way more fun when you have these things in place.
yeah. It does for sure, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And we will connect and make sure you talk to both Brittany and I. If you've loved this episode, please connect with us on Instagram, tag us, let us know what was your big takeaway, your moment of like, this is something I'm going to do, an idea that's sparked something for you. We would love to hear from you. Are you struggling to find quality clients these days? Well, in this world of instant gratification and abundance of AI-produced content, it may be feeling harder than ever to attract the sort of clients who really value your expertise, are ready to show up, ready to commit and invest in getting the results that they actually want. But it's not just about guessing, and it's not about just creating more content hoping that something sticks. There is some specific things that you can do and need to have in your business in order to attract those sort of clients. And I'm sharing them with you in my training, my free training called The Magnetic Formula. So go and grab yourself a seat for this free class and let me show you what are these 5 key things you need to have in your business so that you end up with a stream of committed, high quality clients who are ready to invest, who help you have a very thriving, flourishing business that earns you over 6 figures a year, and you do it all in very easy part-time hours. Head over to jessicaosborne.com/TMF or drop below into the show notes, click on the link and grab yourself a seat for this free training while it still exists. I'll see you there.